Okay. I believe we are in a good place. Let's have a peek. Double check a couple things. I believe we're jamming. Alright. We're going to start out with... I gotta grab a glove, because I can't handle this thing with bare hands, I don't think. But today we're going to start to layer in the initial colors on his face and his leathers on his helmet for sure. I believe I have a good idea for his hair and the beard, but I have a lot of ideas about that, and so I'm a little up in the air still. So we'll see how I feel about that. Let's see as the old morning goes on. Put a little more water in my palette here.
I'm Diana of Themyscira.
Oh my goodness. Good morning, Inks. How are you today? Just throwing some water into my wet palette here. Oh, and Tactical Booty. How are the two of you? Ink says, I'm good. How's he amazing? Because I'm feeling pretty amazing after all. My sponge here is a little thirsty. Inks, you were talking about wanting a wet palette, but not being able to get one. So all this thing is like a Tupperware. You don't need one nearly the size of what I have. There we are. But all this sponge is a chunk of sponge cloth. You can pick that up at any discount store for a few dollars. You know, not much at all. Oh, nice Tactical. I'm glad you saw them. But you can get them at any size. And I find just a sandwich container works just as well as this. And then what goes on top of it is just some parchment paper. You can get that at most people's kitchens have that. I don't know your cooking situation at home, but I think a roll of it costs a couple dollars, and I'm pretty sure 100 feet of it would last an artist a lifetime. I believe Sam Lenz commented that he's on his second roll ever. And they make nicer, like, hobby papers, but you don't need them. Those are optional. Yeah. Once you lay down the parchment paper and smooth a little water over it so it doesn't wrinkle up on you, end up with a result like that. And you can start spreading your paints out. So, we'll leave this guy like this for a little bit while we get our colors out to start creating his skin tones. Hope everybody's had a good week. I know I sure have tried. If nothing else, it's been quite productive in the sense that I got a lot done. So for our dwarven friend here, we're going to do his skin a little more ruddy. So we're going to go with a little bit more thicker or darker skin tones, like maybe spend a lot of time out in the sun. And for our base on this, I'm going to use my P3 Cardic Flesh. This is just a skin tone that's a little more red brown, as opposed to pink and white. We can build up off of that, but I think a good dwarf would have a lot of reds in their skins. I think another color that I always have on my palette is some Sanguine Base. I would show you where it says it, but I have Me and this pot of paint have been some places. Ink says, a dwarf that likes the suns, what world do we live in? Well, you know, I feel like dwarves either live in the mines their whole life, but when they're out and about, I think when they're on their adventures and looking for the gold, they tend to bronze up a bit, you know? It's a weird idea that they spend all that time down in those mines and still have the tanner flesh. They don't turn like those, like the sickly-looking dark elves, for whatever reason. Just putting some primary red down. I tend to like this one a lot. It's a Cawdor red base. I'm also got a primary yellow as well. Ink says traditional dark elves have black skin. I guess that's right, huh? Sometimes, though, they are portrayed, like in the Hellboy movies, they have that more paler flesh. You think that's just an artistic interpretation there, or are they a different kind of elf, Inks? Tactical says you can get heat burns from being near fires and tan from that. Speaking from experience, says Tactical. Well, I guess maybe that's it. Maybe they're getting tanned by being near all that forge fire. Probably should have started with the yellow. Craig Gold, good morning, and thank you so much for the host. How are you now, Craig? And I also like to have a nice olive green when I'm mixing up my skin tones, so grab some of that. Inks just says, different universe, dark elves originally came from Norse mythology, and they had the darker tones. That's really cool, Inks. Alright, a couple more things to get out here. Craig says, I'm good, Chris. Last day of work for me and then break for Christmas. Oh, that's wonderful, Craig. I have work today, and then I work Monday and Tuesday. A little bit of that. What else do we need? I need some green. I need some blue. And yeah, I can't make up my mind. Again, I'm still torn with this beard. I think we're going to go with a strawberry blonde. I think that fits the build for most people. And a lot of votes were for salt and pepper, but to me, the underlying tone between every salt and pepper request was that he be wise, like he has seen some years and some experience. So we're going to make him an older strawberry blonded dwarf. Get some grays in there. At least as best I can. I've never painted hair like that, so it'll be a learning experience for all of us. We got Learn, Train, Play in the building. Good morning, Learn, Train, Play. Ugh. So sorry for stumbling over your name there. It's me. How are you today? Alright, I think we're down to just some of the essential colors like black and white to get this thing rocking. Titanium white, and where's my Thalmar black? There we go. You can call me Learn or Chris. Chris? Hey, it's a good name. Get these paints rocking. Okay. Alright, so how dark do we think we want to go with this skin tone here? I think for sure we need quite a bit of that in there. Let's start with a redder base. The yellow. Look at that glorious badger, the glorious one. Chris says, I'm good, a little disappointed a friend was supposed to be coming over for a game of Age of Sigmar, but no joy. Badger says, morning, my dudes. Oh, you know what color we're missing? The moment you start mixing a flesh tone, you will remember what you needed to get. We need some magenta. Skins have a lot of purples in them. I think with as grim as he looks, we're going to need some purples. I especially think with a gentleman like this, we're going to need some nice purples. Okay, I also think we're pretty watered down here. So let's check on my thumb. Pretty thin. I think I do want a bit more. I think that's a much better color. Whoop, where are we at here? Yeah, a lot more red. Right, back in a bit, coffee, etc. We'll see you soon, Badger. Make sure I don't have too much on my brush. Let's spin him ever so slightly. I think we are possibly a little less opaque than I want to be, but we shall see. Perhaps a little more basic flesh tone would make some sense up in here. Maybe even a bit more red. Get some more reds in that nose. I think these red tones will go a long way as I glaze over them to building up that nice look of maybe some extra ale or some very, very cold weathers that they're dealing with. When I think of a dwarven hunter, I think he's either out there starving or he's out there hunting for some glory, looking for a dragon. Back into that ruddy tone. Mix that back into those darker recesses. Tactical Booty says, a northern dwarf. Learn, train, play says to Inks, not really. Oh, what did I miss here? Inks says, did my advice help? Okay. Not really. I don't have Archeon, so Corn is not the best build for me. With what I have at the moment, I'm looking at Nurgle, Plague Touched, or even going Zench, as I think they are underrated. Ooh. Cool, a little outside the box. Here we're just glazing some light layers of skin tones over top of that red. Down in here too. Just letting these colors mix together, make their own tones, so to speak. I think all of these are important. As you layer them up, you kind of get a dynamic skin tone. They don't always look the best initially, but they will get there. You can get a little bit more of this green in there. In these darkest recesses, I'm going to bring in some greens. I know those need to be in there as well. Down in here, up in this temple. And the same thing over here. We can get some blues in these colder areas. Maybe even a little bit under this nose because it's so big. I'm not really cleaning my brush in between these colors either. We're just kind of making it happen as we go. Because I'm going to switch over to a brighter tone that's pretty stark. I am going to rinse that blue out because it will muddy. Oops, sorry about the camera bump. Just a little bits over here. I think it's a nice dynamic base. I think we're just about to the point where I need to let this dry. And so we'll start to work on some of these leathers a little bit. Outside the box, indeed. Ink says, sadly, corn is the strongest out of the mark. But, yeah, I mean, when you're trying to be balling on a budget, so to speak, you got to run with what you've got. Just going to stipple this in here across this bridge. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. A little bit across these two folds. Oops. Oh god. Alright, get a little bit of this up here. I believe that's gonna stay. Alright, so start for a skin tone. Craig Gold says Nurgle rules. Back in the day when Lash of Submission was a thing, I played a Slanesh and Nurgle hybrid army, and it was always a lot of fun. It looked pretty cool on the tabletop. I never painted it, which was a shame, but... Ink says, love Nurgle, but the Maggotkin are such a lower tier. At Learn, Train, Play, how do you feel that the Demon Prince isn't a wizard? Learn, Train, Play says, gutted they are not wizards, though. At least Zench. The Zench one would be, yeah. I'm just going to catch up on you guys here. Yeah. It's sad when the things you would play on account of fluff differ so much from what you would play on account of what's good in the format. Real lame. I'm just getting out some leathery tones so I can start on his helmet. I guess his leather cap that he's wearing. I do believe. Yes. While we're letting his snoot dry, just getting out a few of my favorite leathers. I like sienna and umbral tones, and so I use burnt and raw umbers and siennas. I think they're very good colors. I think I'm going to start with this lower section here. I'm going to treat each one of these leather areas as their own kind of area. These little chunks of hide. I'm so sorry for bumping that. Because it is not taking it the same as the regular paints. The heavy bodies have a bit of a stiffer medium in them, and so they tend to hold together quite a bit better. darker tone again. Try to even some more of that purple on its own. We'll put that purple up here in this highlight. Down here. Make sure we get all these little recesses nice and purpley lined. Maybe we'll grab a little bit of this highlight color here. Some with a little more yellow. And just put it out here in these highlight zones. All right. Oh, we got all kinds of people coming in here. We got Blood Angel Nash says, good morning, good morning. How are you, Nash? I am just kind of wet blending some paint here. Trying to make sure we get some variance across the such a large surface. I think we've accomplished that goal. Make sure I don't have a whole lot of pooling going on in here. And we'll leave it. And so that'll be one. This middle section is rather large. Well, I would say this is separate. That's a bigger piece. Make sure I'm not resting. See, I did. Not good. It's a pretty big whoopsie, huh? Kind of bummed that I did that. That was pretty silly. I wonder, I'm letting the rest of these paints mix up on the palette, if I grab my airbrush, if I can't help this along a little bit. Fable Fowl, good morning. Fabled Fowl? How are you today? Ink says, looking forward to using the new brushes I'm getting for Christmas. Inks, what kind of brushes are you getting for Christmas? That's fun. Taco says, what kind of hide do you think it's made from? I'm thinking we're going to say that this particular helmet was hobbled together from a handful of different chunks of hide, or hide that has certainly been tanned differently. Maybe there were several different beasts that were cobbled together to create the look that we have here. Just trying to help some of this pooling that started to occur because I got a little too much paint in there. Part of what happens in these earlier hours. You don't want your paint to ever be that watery and that thick. So if you ever find yourself with this much pooling, avoid it. But there we go. That ought to avoid me smudging it again, at least across the snoot of it. What camera are you using? The quality is so good. This is a 1080p Logitech webcam. The thing that makes it look good is the lighting. Which, now that you mention it, we are missing one. I should have grabbed a glove a while ago. But yeah, thank you. I would like to get a proper camera, but you know, even these webcams can do a good job within their limitations. You know, the things that this camera doesn't have that a nice camera has is its ability to do a good picture in lower light. It also doesn't have the ability to do a good picture outside of its focal range. So I have to have it within a given distance of whatever I'm working on. How are you today, a fabled fowl? I don't believe we've met before. I'm glad to have you in the stream. Fabled Fowl says, I'm doing great. I'm just now discovering the wonders of art channels and love seeing all the creatives. Well, we are certainly glad to have you. There's a bunch of lovely creatives in here right now. Do you yourself paint? Are you into the miniature hobby by chance? Tactical Booty says, welcome to the mini painting community then. Fabled says, never dabbled in miniatures, but I am a painter. Oh, that's fun. What kind of painting do you do? Make sure we're in the focal point here. N1 says, good morning. Well, good morning, N1. Fabled Fowl says, I do oil paintings. We got Aaron J. Bang in the room. Aaron, good morning, good morning. How are you, sir? Fabled Fowl with a follow. Thank you so much for making the corgi wiggle. Aaron's hiding from everybody. Fabled says, I'm about to learn how to do wood carvings and hoping to merge the two. That's interesting. Most of what we paint with in the miniature community are acrylics, but there is several applications for oils. One of the big ones is Actually, we have some people that come from an oil painting background that actually prefer to use them almost exclusively on account of their blending principles are so much tighter. While we're over here, we can have a peek at what our leather is doing. Starting to marry pretty well over here. We got Eisenheim Gaming. How's the real Nomadic Chris? Well, how are you there, Eisenheim? We're just out here working on some skin tones. You know what it is. Trying to keep things smooth and proper across this whole dwarf. Bring in some more white. Hang on. We're losing it. I fixed it. Aaron J. Bang says, dreaming of ordering a War Games exclusives and or Anvil Industry. Okay. Not super familiar, but I do understand the desire to get more plastic thingies. Aaron is definitely hiding from Tactical. Tactical's one to hide from. It's all that booty you gotta watch out for. Tactical's roaring. Eisenheim says, good, thanks again for yesterday. Hey, I'm glad I could be a part of it. When the captain calls, who am I to deny? She's a good lady. I don't know that I like that color so much. Maybe a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. I'll get the music here in a second. Fix that music. I have like no desk space. If I had desk space, I wouldn't have all these paints. You know what I'm saying? Alright. Where are we here? Aaron J. Bang, Warhammer. What's that thing? Oh, Lord have mercy. How pretty are those? Such detail. Okay. I'm getting the vibe that G-Dub doesn't like to talk about companies like this. Those are sick. Way too much red. We're starting to get those tonal buildups that make all the sense. I'm just going to push this paint around. I'll get to your message here in just a second, Aaron. I'm trying to, you know how it can be when you're working some wet blends. You don't want to, can't let it dry. You got to get enough paint down to do the blend. Let me get my darker tone here. I'm just going to meet them up. From back here. I don't know if I ever finished the comment there, Fabled, but there's a couple of people that come from oil painting backgrounds that like them to blend for the bulk of their models, and that's cool too. I don't know how to use them for much more than washes. Shows you how limited I am in the medium. We're starting to get a snoot together here. Fabled Sigh, Chris ignored me. Inks, I did not intend to. Oh, goodness. I don't see it even on the screen. We got to go back. I will never ignore Inks deliberately. Inks says, oh, yeah, Chris. When you're free to speak about the... we got Mikey RR. Inks kicking the host out. I'm looking forward to using my new brushes. Okay, and you just said... yeah, we can go ahead and talk about your brushes. What you got going on here? Aaron says... I missed a question from Fable. Fable says, so the miniatures bought as blank canvas and you paint them. Yes, they come blank plastic, resin, or a white metal kind of material. For sure. Fable says, or do you cast them? I do not. Some people do. This one was a physical sculpture that was then resin cast. I'm going to get all caught up on this. Aaron says, no rush, homie. My Saint Celeste and her bodyguards are from War Games. Oh, that, okay. Okay, those are tight sculpts. So we caught up with Inks. Aaron shouting out to Inks. Craig asks if I'm using any glazed medium. Craig, I don't play with too many mediums. I use some matte medium, depending, but not often. I usually just work my paints wet off the palette. Use a big brush. It helps out a ton. I use this big size 6 brush on the 28 mils as well. Aaron says, then you primer and go from there. Chris is using a zenithal primer scheme where he primed black, then white, maybe gray to a look. Yeah, I did. I primed it all black. I hit it with a light-sourced highlight with my airbrush, and then I came through with my paintbrush with a brighter white and did I also took some blacks and blues and did a grayscale sketch, a grisaille is a proper term, sketch. And then we started with the skin tones and, again, leathers in the back. Fabled Faust says, such an interesting process. Yeah, let me pull this up to show you, and then we're going to dig into Inks' conversation about the brushes. Oh, Inks, that's correct. I remember you were going to help me set that up. I hate bothering people. Not that I feel like I'm bothering you, but if anybody, I know you, my regulars in here are more than familiar with my setup, but here's a link to my Instagram, which I'm going to show right here. Fabled, this will help out a lot understand the process. So here is what he looked like when he came. This is just a blank resin, nothing to it other than the beautiful sculpture. It's a George Sukuzidis sculpt. You find him right here if anybody doesn't know their work. There's a link to their website off their Instagram. Just phenomenal work in different styles for everybody. Then I did that black and gray sketch, which actually has some blue in it. But it's really just black and white, and then because white doesn't fully cover black, you get these beautiful gray transitions without even trying. And that's the same process that I used for this gentleman here. We started off with that same black and gray. I built up his skin tones to a certain point, which is, we're almost to this point on this guy. It needs to be brought up a little bit more to get to that. And then started to refine it. And the refinement process is just, further detailing the sketch and brightening the tones. Just got to feel it out. Our little hobbit here is going down the same path. I've got to fix his wonky scalp line. I got to actually add some colors into these hairs, and obviously his feet, and also fix all these little details in his face. But. And it says definitely fun. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's good therapy. I know a handful of 2D artists in the community. Modfly, that Mr. Shy, excellent streamers, both 2D artists. They do like magic card altars in acrylic, and then they're starting to work on their miniature painting. And it's fun to take two artists that are just spectacular. 2D. I guess Zambies would qualify as well. She does a lot of 2D stuff too. Comes from a traditional background. And just watching them take what I would consider top of the food chain artistic capability in a 2D realm and watch them adapt it to that 3D. It's been quite fun. And I'm a novice in a lot of these techniques that people like that Mr. Shy talks about, having been an artist for 20 some years. So it's kind of crazy watching the tricks they can pull out of their sleeves. Tago says, Inks, just bother him then. Bother me. And it says it didn't fit my army's aesthetic, and Inks prefers the G-Dub Saint Celeste models. They're so nice. That is true. I like both. I think they're all good. Ink says, I use chatbot and link it to account, and I can help with your commands. Okay. Yeah, Inks, after my stream's over and I get into work today, if you're around, I'll kick you a message and we can go over some of that stuff. Aaron says, Chris, you bother folks again? That's what I do. I actually come up and I'm like, Inks, I mean, I thought you said, we were gonna hang out and work on some stuff. Yeah. Just trying not to be take advantage, Hit this guy with another little layer. I think skins should be painted translucently because they are kind of translucent. You want to let those capillaries shine through. Especially when you've been gifted such a nice miniature. Like when you're dealing with something that is small and detailed, you kind of want to pay respect to the efforts the sculptor put in. Granted, with what this monsters thing cost, I don't know if we could call it a gift in that respect, but gifted in terms of excellent work. Tactile says, I knew it looked familiar. Fable Foul says, so cool. Aaron says, mods are good at Photoshop. Photoshop. I don't even know how to run it. We got Baz the Brit says, anything dwarf is awesomeness. That's right. Dwarven amazingness. That's how we do it. We need some more highlights in here. I think this could do it. Mix up a couple more colors here. Snick says, well, hello. Hey, Snick, how are you today? And J Bang says, we get by with a little help from our friends, man. Yeah, it's true, it's true. All right, Inks, I'll give a look at that. Let me check this color real quick. I don't know if it's going to be too stark. I might end up backing this off a little bit, but... It's true. To that point, Aaron, I've always had sort of a problem when people say that they're self-made. It's like you have got a roadmap of success, and there's so many names along that thing that aren't your own. It's like self-made. Stipple this in here a little bit by a little bit. I think maybe this little guy might be a mole. Oops. Well, it helps if I actually get some paint on my brush. Dab, 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 dab. Might get a little something else. Fable Fowl says later. Oh, Fable Fowl says, gotta go make lunch for later. Thank you for sharing your craft. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. I've been kind of scatterbrained with the chat, and that's on me. Oh, Aaron says, Modfly is good at the Photoshop. I've been so terrible with the chat today, and I can't apologize enough for that. I'm focusing on this beautiful little snoot I'm painting. It's very boopable, but it's too wet to boop, so no can boop. Baz says, so true. Inks always likes helping people. Inks, you are so helpful and so kind. Snick says, yo, yo. Thank you, Snick. It is nice bus. George Sukazidis at his finest. Aaron says, add inks. There's nothing wrong with GW Celestine. It just didn't fit my aesthetic for the army. If you have a ton of Raging Heroes at GW, just won't work with those minis, you dig. Yeah, if you're already in one camp, it's hard to shift. He says, I understand, Aaron, I just don't like Raging Heroes. I have a lot of bad stuff from them. I've had some, you can catch that off and on. Craig says, gotta go catch you later. Craig, enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend if I don't catch you. Hey, Tiz. Good morning. The bust is doing the work. It's all the sculpt. It's very little me. Aha. What we got here? I need to get out of here. I meant to ask you, Tiz. I know we were a little bit on the on Instagram, but how was the trip? All right. At Inks, I'll buy it off you. Oh. Not sure where they are. I made Miss Half Damage a similar offer recently. Oh, Balefire Forge. Well, thank you so much for that follow. Miss Half Damage was expressing some minor disdain over their airbrush purchase from Badger, which I tend to like a lot. I don't know, from the sounds of her opinions on the matter, what I like about them might be a little Stockholm syndrome. She's not very happy, but I did offer to purchase her unwanted airbrushes, and she never got back to me. Maybe she threw them away. That would break my heart. Alright. All these little details. Okay. I think, truthfully, we do have to let this rest. So, we've got so much stuff to work on. Why could we be worried about that? Look at all these leathers. Ink says Aaron says to Inks, no hurry. I've got a ton more to paint of my own currently. If you come across them, I'm in the market. Balefire says, surprise noise! Surprise nose! Oh, yeah. Hey, we got Aaron saying, yo, BFF. That's fun. Get the best friends forever. Hugging on Balefire. Balefire, we're all seemingly glad to have you here. Tiz says, the trip was really cool. I got the job. Wonderful. I just have to wait for the contract to confirm everything. Really want to move to Utrecht. There's a company over here in the States that sells art supplies called Utrecht, and I love it. It's where I get all my good my paintbrushes. A lot of people say that they have issues with their Winsor Newton Series 7s. I've ordered a number of them from Utrecht, and I've not had one with an issue. That doesn't mean that they don't still have a quality control potential, but from what I've seen, the people that are having problems are getting them off of Amazon. But not that you're moving to an art supply store. Baz says, I've only owned one airbrush, and it's like it's a second child, LOL, but I went with Iwata. Iwata makes a great airbrush. That's the thing. You get these camps where they're like, oh, in Harder and Steenbeck, Iwata, or Badger, or Mr. Hobby, I think is what the other ones... I don't know. There's a bunch of brands. But I try not to be dogmatic. We got Mama. 466 says, good morning, Christopher. Well, good morning. Right back at you. How are you today? It says, LOL. BFF is Balefire Forge. Balefire Forge is your best friend forever. That's just the way it's going to be, Aaron. I'm sorry. I didn't make the rules. You're going to be tossing out a acronym that's been claimed for decades. Decades, maybe. Maybe 1, 2. How long has that thing been around? I don't make the rules. I'll try to be better next time. Aaron says, no, you're not my real mom. Make this hide a little bit more dark, a little more desaturated. Here I'm just going to start working a little blend action between a couple different colors. Grab this color for over here. Oh, that's quite a bit of paint. Good Lord. I'm not even on the camera. Nobody told me. Maybe we'll go with a little brightness down here. RJ Banks says, anyway, it's 3:30 a.m. Best Coast time. Oh, yeah. So my cue. So that's my cue. I'll dream of third-party resins tonight. Get on the camera, Chris. Yeah, I need a lost target. Like, hey, what are you doing? I think the trick sometimes is to actually move the camera to where your arms want to be. But actually doing that is another thing. Sorry, everybody. I'm bouncing this thing around like it's nobody's business here. We'll put a little bit more of this brighter tone up in here as well. I like these dynamic wet blended base coats as opposed to just putting a color down. Mostly because it gives me something more dynamic to work with. And sometimes I see colors that I didn't initially see in my head. Maybe this little patch up here will be something quite a bit more stark. Get out there. Where are we at here? Baz says, I won a Mr. Hobby one on another stream. Should get it next year, but I had only heard of Iwata, so I went with it. Mama, I really am your mama. Oh my, how are you? What are you doing? Dun dun dun. With lightning in the distance. Q's dramatic hamster meme. What is that, Aaron? Yeah, there. Try to clean this thing up. Tiz says, is it a heavily textured bust? I always have problems with getting paint onto those parts. Yeah, there's a lot of texture in here for sure. You can see the little chunks here. Taylor we says shocked Pikachu face. What have you linked me, Aaron? Maybe a little purple in here. Purple down in here as well. Letting Tyson in. Tyson is our puppy. He's a good boy. We have here. Aaron says, I'll just leave that there and go. It's only 6 seconds long. Aaron, get down here. Enjoy your night. Get some sleep. Go increase your mountain of shame. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. I don't know what I want to color that. This little chunk here. I think I'm just going to make this something just nonsensical here. We'll just go with everything else around is going to be so dynamic. We'll just make this kind of boring. Maybe that'll help it just disappear. Sometimes I think that's a bit of its own tactic. Oop, we've got way too much paint here. We even in focus. Trying to navigate the larger bust is quite a learning experience. Hope everybody's having a good holiday season. feeling like I'm not remotely ready. Sorry here. I know this isn't probably the most exciting portion to watch, but it's one of the necessary things. You got to paint it all, huh? That's starting to come together as a nice cohesive piece. You might even be able to losing track of the palette here. Tiz says, need to do so much shopping. Yeah. Thinking I'm just going to work even more of this ochre, this raw sienna into the tones up here at the top. On account of, I always want to kind of trick people and help them figure out what they want to look at. Instead of me, the front and tops of the models are really that place. So something that's a little more hide it up top, worn out, might be the answer. Get a little bit of this tone in here for some shadow, something dynamic. Okay, and I think over there we're dealing with a lot of this, so try to blend this out just a little bit. Worry about separating these different panels later on in the stage. I don't know. Yeah, just stipple this in here until we get the coverage that needs to be. Super rough kind of whip, but also more importantly his face is dry enough that we can go back, start further refining these little portions of his snoot. Let's set him down. Yep, okay. Start to make some sense of this. This might be a bit too pink. For Mr. Dwarf. So we'll tone it back a little bit. And then I'm just going to two brush smooth this out here on these edges. Start making more sense of that. think just a little bit of this could go a long way. Let's check this color real quick. Bring some magenta into this. Just some raw, watered down, mind you, magenta ink. Maybe even a little bit over here on the cheekbones. Might be time to actually get out a smaller paintbrush here. Let me see what we have here. Okay. Tiz says, so much shopping to do, yeah. Thinking. I have to be careful in here, but ooh, careful of that. It's like the last thing I want to do is like jack up his eyeball here. Trying to make sense of where his cheeks are. I'm going to bring some of this, excuse me, this darker tone that I have here up into these folds. About bringing some of the life into these shadowed areas. Little bit by little bit, we're getting the coverage we need. Does anybody have anything fun planned for the weekend other than, you know, holiday prep, things of that nature? I don't know that I want to pick out every little fold here, but we're going to try to define a few of these. I think if I tried to pick out every little wrinkle, he'll start to look possibly a little too old. This particular track is going to drive me nuts, I think. Daniel says, going to see Star Wars and Cats this weekend. Ooh, I forgot Star Wars was happening. They always used to do them on the on Christmas Day. I guess they're not doing that this year. Okay. Okay. You've earned yourself a skip. Just going to hit some of these very specific highlights up here. Sorry, I've got to get, I'm going to be kind of hunched in here to hit all these. What do you think? I mean, you're going to see it, so obviously you must think it looks pretty good. But I haven't seen too much about that movie, the adaptation of Cats. What is it? What are they doing? Like realistic CGI? Are they doing like cartoon style? What's the plan there? Yeah, there we are. Tactical says realistic. Oh, that's interesting. Do they have cat faces or human faces? This is my wife meow talking to a cat right now. Yeah, I didn't go out and feed Watson yet, if you want to. She gets that way. Our one cat is very chatty. She has a sense of entitlement towards, like, if you've gotten a drink, she wants some water in her dish, and if her dish has water, she would like it to be, topped off. And so if she did anything fridge or drink related, the little girl cat will sit there and make these little meows at her till she gets what she wants. She's funny like that. So if you ever hear her out there just meow, 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 that is what's going on. Tadgiel says, looks like a freaking acid trip. They're going humanish, thinking about popping an edible before seeing a tactical. I think if you're comfortable with the theater, maybe. You better be comfortable with the theater. You don't want to go into a strange place and watch strange things like that. I can't imagine that'd be a good thing. I just say, I kind of like using this beard curl as a handle. That's a nice little feature there. Some of the straight shadow tone that I have here. Just start stippling some of that in. Blend this out a little bit. You know what? I think we'll also... I know I started to do this earlier, but kind of lost track of it. To give him this little mole here. There we go. How we coming out here? Edible drop. Let's see here. Yeah, we're on camera. Ooh, that is not at all the color for that area. Let me get this one in a couple of, well, let's put it down there anyway. Need a boatload more blue for that to start making sense. There we go. Maybe even some green, to be honest. It's gonna, it needs to change color quite a bit. Now we'll start to reclaim some of that area by bringing in a little more red and blue, and that'll start giving us some purpley liveliness. But we'll keep it a little dynamic, I suppose. Oops, I think that's a good angle for the camera if we're registering. I think my highlight back here is just going to be my my original mid-tone. I think that'll play off nicely. Try to line this eye in. We'll do the same thing. Oh, try not to rub away where we did all those leathers. Pack these greens in real quick. Some of these real cold areas. Green is such a fun color. Bring these cold tones in. More blues. Start getting a couple gray colors back in there. And then we can start to reclaim. Tatiel's seemingly going to have the most exciting weekend of all of us, from the sounds of things. I think I had just simply planned for a little bit of Christmas shopping and hopefully getting some actual sleep. But I'm ambitious at 33, you know. What color do I have here? Let's see. Try to smooth this blend down a little bit. I'm just not super happy with that effect I'm getting. There we go. Beckmek says, nice looking bust. Is it custom? It is a smaller company. It's a gentleman named George Sugazidis. He sculpted this. It is purchasable off of his web store, which, if you like, I will get you a link. Ah, Tactical, you gem of a human. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's George's website if you're interested in checking it out. Baz says, Defo, Tactical's having a much more interesting weekend. Because Baz says, I'm not really doing anything Christmassy this year. Going to mom and dad's, then on Boxing Day, traveling to see my little boy for a couple of hours. Baz, what is Boxing Day for you? That's not something we have over here. Just picking out some of these little folds here and trying to liven them up a little. He's a dwarf after all. Beckmek says, nice, thanks for the link. Yeah, if you're interested in picking any of it up. But it is a pretty fun little bust. And if you're interested in things that we do in here on a regular basis, there is a link to my Instagram. You see the kind of stuff we try to pull out. This is a learning experience stream where I'm trying to learn a new hobby. We've been in it about 2 years, and it has been a wild adventure. And I started streaming about 4 months ago, and to have some shared experiences with other streamers and viewers that are like-minded has been just wonderful. Baz says, it's a term from the good old days. LOL. It's do with one of two things: packing up the gifts or getting drunk and starting boxing in bars. I got you. Beckmek says, yeah, I've been streaming for a few months too. It's fun being able to interact with people whilst gaming or whatever. There you go. Tago says, really? I always thought it was like a super special day. Yeah, me too, Tactical. Beckmek says, wish I could stream my work, but trade secrets, spoilers, and all that. So do you also paint? There's no trade secrets in painting. I don't think, at least. There might be. Maybe that's why I don't know about them. Unless I'm the one out here giving stuff away. I don't know. Beckmek says, wish I could paint. What were you talking about not sharing the secrets of? Gaming, maybe? Yeah, I could never paint either. I just put primer on models and left them at that. But then over time, I kind of, as I got a little bit older and didn't have time to game, my friends didn't have time to game, I started picking up this side of the hobby and realized, you know what, I've dedicated so much time to learning how to play and reading rules and figuring out what strategies work as far as gameplay goes. It's like, why don't I ever do that for painting? Like, there's got to be more depth to it. And so, started reading books and actually trying to educate myself a little bit on the subject. And the rest of it is just mileage. You gotta put in time on everything, really. Oop. Beckmeck says, game development. I work at Rebellion? Rebellion, Rebellion. Tactical says, I mean, meet me in the pit for sure. Getting drunk and fighting sounds like something I need. Tactical's ready to go for it. What happened here? Beth says, always trouble in the bars with too much alcohol and stuff. Yeah, it's just a fact. And you guys have those baby beverages over there. We do big people pours around these parts in the States. There we go. Little bit by little bit, we're going to get these tones smoothed out. That's pretty cool. You're doing game development, though, Beck Mac. That's fun. That's that kitten I was telling you about. She gets so sassy. More importantly, she's... my wife doesn't work every Friday. She sometimes works a couple days a month. She'll have a Friday off, and then she'll work more on the... she'll work like a day over the weekend for events, and little girl cat is in search of a catter day that she's acknowledging she's not getting. So she'll be meow, 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 meow. Tactical says a pint is a pint. It's not. Our pints are bigger only by a couple ounces, though. No, they're not. Well, maybe your pint of beer. But don't you guys adhere to some archaic rule that makes your beer weak? What is that called? It's a German thing where you can't use wheat. It's a German word, I think, was the laws. I don't know. I know nothing. You're going to research anything I bring up, for sure. Fact check me. Beckmeck says, it is fun making games called... making a game called Zombie Army 4 at the moment. I create the levels. Oh, that's interesting. So you work on the different evolution, like just the layout of the map, so to speak. Beth says, oh no, we're just super cheap, LOL. ABV tax is real. You guys have a tax on per volume alcohol? I do not like that. Speaking from an American standpoint, I don't like taxes, okay? I just don't like them. Toll booths upset me. Like, I don't know how you define highway robbery, but when I'm driving down the road and somebody has an embattlement built to take my money, I get angry. I don't get that angry, I'm just kidding, but it does actually frustrate me. Beckmeck says, yeah, I create the layout, enemy placement, objectives, setup, and such. I work with artists who make the level look awesome, that skin over your framework, so to speak. I don't have the time to dress it too. Yeah, it's like some people in app development are doing the nuts and bolts functionality, and then you have the front end team that does the GUI and such. Well, Baz says, when I worked at a brewery, it was super crazy making high ABV beers, so not worth it. But you guys have it down with the spirits. With the spirits, hands down. Yeah, they're big. Oh man. Just agitating my brush. That's why I'm like jab, 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 jab. Tactical says, I like tequila. Tactical. Baz says, whenever I'm stateside or Canada, my spirit intake is epic. It don't take much. Get yourself a nice drink order neat. You'll be good to go. Alright. Start building this mahogany tone up a little bit. You are all going to have to forgive me here in a few moments as I go tell my wife goodbye for the day. I'm just going to run a quick ad when that happens, and I'll be back. Sneezes out there. It is the season for sneezes, huh? You getting ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Give me just a few moments here. I will be right back. We'll leave you with this gentleman. His capable hands. All right, I'm back. No problems. What do we miss here? Don't have time to dress it. Like tequila. Baz says defo. Same in bourbon. Okay. Get my good brush out here. Let's get these eyeballs a better cover here. Just moving in some of these darker areas here. So many folds coming in at me at different angles here. I'm trying not to get paint everywhere. Still pretty cool though. Just paint over it, no problem. Get a little bit of this down in here. Looking a little dead. Got some sick skin. It's kind of crazy if you don't get a little bit of... what is this now? No, I don't know that we will. Rockabye baby. That's no good. That's no good. Some things will not do. Baz says, spent a great chunk of time stateside in Canada. Next year I'm hoping to be back over for a week or two depending on funds and stuff. Okay. Tactical might end up being closer to Canada than me for sure. It's probably a little loaded up. Let's see. Yeah, not too bad. Let it dry and see what we get. A little yellow in there. And once that dries, we'll bring in the peachy colors. Same thing back here. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Orthober. It is that hour. Good morning, everybody. How are things up there in the great north? He said peachy. He did say peachy. Good morning, good morning. We're working on some skin tones here. Trying to refine them. Beckmeg with a big old follow. Thank you so much for making the corgi do his little dance. I gotta get a little more purpley tones back in there, I think. He's looking a little sick down in there. Got some necrosis or something. Clean that up. Orthober says, good morning. Baz says I was in Vancouver in British Columbia for 3 seasons and traveled a few places stateside with a touring team. That's fun. Got to hear more about that. All right. Get that tidied up. Get that tidied up. Orthober says, good morning. Good morning, Orthober. How was your stream? Were you working on anything super interesting? For those of you not familiar with Orthober, makes the finest wood in Twitchdom. I don't know if he makes the wood, but he definitely sands it in such a way that I find so grippable. Look at that. If you need wood, look no further. Look at that. Even for a paw like mine, comfortable, grippable. Robosh, good afternoon. Good afternoon, good day. I wish it was afternoon around here. Probably be quite a bit warmer. Orthober says, went well, working on matriarch entry, nearly finished, and then worked on a diorama a bit. Ooh, wish I had the gumption to enter a legit competition. It's that same typical thing. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of not executing, meeting a deadline, all that. Yada, yada, yada. Trying to get some variation of color here. Thurber says, gotta go deep, balls deep. Goodness, though I don't commission paint, so no other painting pressures. There you go. That's a good point. So far, it's mostly just locals that are like, oh, you're painting? I'd like to not have to paint. Meanwhile, I'll be the one with the half-painted army. Stipple this in here. We're coming across? Yeah, we're coming across. But that's a good plan. Just paint the things you want to paint, work on what you want to work on, and enjoy 100% of it. I haven't hit too many stresses in that respect. The fear of execution is always a thing for me when it comes to, like, I don't even know if it's about, like, winning a competition so much as the idea of showing my best work. I always compare myself against things I feel like I can do, and that tends to get in my way. Can you show that wood grip again, please? Baz, yeah, absolutely. Orthover says, though I'm sure for the right price, high-end display model with artistic license, I could. Hey, how about you just give me a number and I'll send you the model and we'll go from there. Wouldn't that be nice? That sounds like you're going to get Orthover to do that. I'll bet you that would be from another artist. That's the way that commission comes through. Because an artist would know to get out of your way. People that don't know what they're doing tend to have all the opinions, huh? Orthover says, though, yeah. Doing this competition stuff is pushing me way out of my comfort zone, which makes me better. That is a good point. Bass says, I may need to invest. Sadly, what I post on Insta is my best works, so I need to try and step up over the plateau. Well, Baz, it's not like you can't compare. Like, if you jump, actually, Orthover's in here is a prime example. If you try to just perform at the level that somebody like that is out the gates, you're going to have a bad time. However, if you look at the model that you just painted and try to do better on the next one, now you're going to have a good time because you're going to improve dramatically over the course of a few models. it's not the most efficient way to paint, but I would suggest, if you're trying to improve on something, is, if you're painting, say, a squad of Space Marines or a squad of Fire Warriors, whatever you're going to paint, you take that squad and instead of doing them all like, what would you call it? Like machine line, like assembly line, like boom, 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 like everybody's shirts, crack, everybody's pants, crack, everybody's face, crack. What you want to do is, I would say, paint one in its entirety. Sure, go ahead and prime them all, but like paint one completely and set it to the side. And then do the next one. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And the work that you're doing by the time you hit that 10th one, for example, is going to be unrecognizable when you compare it to the first. And your entire painting journey needs to be done, not necessarily skipping the assembly line kind of way, but it needs to be done in the sense that you compare what you did to what you just did, or what you're doing to what you just did, and not to somebody else. You're going to go mad trying to do that, I'll tell you what. That's no good for anybody. You don't need to do a whole lot of research. You want to throw the brushes down and walk away. You start trying to compare yourself to some of the greats. But then again, they're not showing you their works in progress. They're showing you their best work in the best lighting and the best staging. When you're comparing what you just did over the course of a couple of hours to something that they spent 40, 80, 100 hours on, it's crazy. Pax Itcario says, wait, you mean my first mini won't come out like Angel Garaldes? Way to burst my bubble. That's a good point, right? But no joke, it happens. Sometimes people don't draw inspiration from a great artist like that. They draw, I don't know, it's not a negativity, but it's like this sense of helplessness, maybe. Bass says, I try to paint 2 to 3 hours a day, depending on my spasms and stuff. That's how I rapidly wreck minis. Yeah, honestly, you could talk to just about anybody in here that has painted for an extended period. Even if it's not a spasm situation where you're fatiguing yourself, you're mentally fatiguing yourself, and you might be working on something that, you're starting to hit the wall, like, I'm finally to a point where I can push this model, or I can start to stretch my legs, and then you go too far and you lose it. And that little push where you think you ruined the model, you didn't ruin it, you just put some more paint on it. I'll tell you that up front. But that little move is how you grow, because once you see how you broke it, so to speak, then you have a better idea of how to fix it. And you can acknowledge when you start getting close to it again. I think the reality is you can just put paint on it. I don't strip models. Certainly not anymore. You just paint over it. Don't like how that pulled. Pax says, at Baz, hands and eyes, yeah. Currently working my way through Kingdom Death. It's fun, but I need to take frequent breaks if I don't want to be permanently cross-eyed. Those are some tiny, well-detailed little... I don't even want to be unproductive. Yeah, those sculptures are something else. They're some of the finest casting in all of the realms, so to speak. Bring some drama into his brow furrow here. One of the benefits of having a nice fine size 2 brush. to come through and do these details. So many little details in here. I don't know if I'm going to pick all of them out, but we'll do some of them. Sometimes you just get a sculptor that wants to go that extra mile. It feels disrespectful not to. Show some respect to it. Orthober says, have a great day off to work. Orthober, enjoy your day at work. I'm off here shortly myself. Baz says, at Orthober, take care. At PAX, them minis are out of my wheelhouse. They are gorgeous. If you're into that kind of spooky noir theme. Pax says they are great. Yeah, by the way, Dorf's looking great. Them pores and pocket marks. Oh, thank you. We're just getting the base layers in here. Maybe keeping a little more dynamic on the... pushing the face a little bit more because the refinement process on this nose is going to be lengthy, I guess is a good way to put it. Thank you so much for that. Pax is shouting out to Orthober to have a good day. Absolutely. Orthober is an excellent woodmaker, and if at all possible, better artist. You see my brush shaking, I like to stipple things like this in as opposed to just smoothly brush it. I find the little gaps in the paint can sometimes help. Just the nature of the thing when stuff gets too smooth or too stark. Like if you just draw like a bright line or something, it's gonna give me issues. And at the same time, I run the risk of making too much of a line. We'll see what we can do here. Oops. The little oopsies are the best part. George did a wonderful job with this sculpt, I think. It drew me into it. Besides his beautiful dwarfdom. Let me get some mid-tone here. A little extra paint on that one. Hang on. Oh, goodness. Pax says to Baz, I've always thought that one of the best ways to learn is to bite off a bit more than you can chew and then keep chewing. It's not a bad idea. And one thing that I've found, personally, I would prefer better sculpts to weaker sculpts. I think you learn a lot more when you paint them. I think if I would have been working with better sculpts in the beginning, I think it would have evolved my painting quite a bit faster. Mephistos194, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, Baz, personally, I would not for reasons not to paint Kingdom Death, I would not be afraid of the sculpts. I think that can be a benefit. You can be afraid of the impact on your wallet. That perfectly reasonable. Because they are not inexpensive. I suppose just to buy like a one-off, it wouldn't be a problem. Not too much. But if you wanted to actually play the game, goodness, you're going to be into it. Go. Just gonna glaze this over a little bit more. Best it would just be a one-off. Yeah, I think, yeah, if you're not gonna get into the game, you kind of gotta focus up on that. As our midtones. My man has a face. All right, there we are. I think that's progress for the day. We got the leather started over here. We'll continue to make progress on that as well. Pack says coming out of different maker. Wait a second. Wait. What do we miss? Excuse the sniffle. Pack says lots of great sculpts coming out too. I love what the 3D printers and Kickstarters did to the hobby community. That's a good point. It really democratized sourcing minis. Packs corrects coming out of different makers, I meant, and globally. Yeah, good point. Beth says I 3D print a lot. Not minis as such. I only paint, never play because I live in the middle of nowhere. I feel that a lot, Baz. Alright, let's see who we have that we can share some love to, as I gotta go get cleaned up for work. We made some reasonable progress today. Sculpt is ginormous, and so it was quite a bit trying to get the skin tones layered in and smoothed out. And this side certainly needs more love and affection than this side yet, but we're starting to come together. Find a way to pick out the details and pay respect to the sculpt while still not overdoing it and blowing out, like making him look like he's just a wrinkled little sack falling off his face. Delicate balance, you know? Let's see who we have here. We got... Let me just refresh this real quick. Oh, I know who we have. There's a wonderful artist doing 2D work we can go see. Bass says, take care, buddy. Always enjoy the stream. Thank you so much. I always enjoy the company. We have a 2D artist that she rated Daniel the other day and was very kind to do that. And I just want to share some love back. Her name is Moon Squid Inc. And she is working on a comic. Pack says, your work captured that. All right, wait a second. Your work captured that. I've seen more things than you have. Look, the sculpt has. Dang. Thanks for the stream. Well, thank you, Pax, for stopping by. Thank you for the conversation. And let's go see what Moon Squid is up to. Again, an excellent artist. Let her know where he came from. Zealous Hunter says, all the beard. Have a good day. You as well, sir. And yeah, I mean, it's weekend. It's right before Christmas. I hope everybody has an excellent weekend. Gets everything squared away as best you can. I know this time of year can be a bit bittersweet. Don't let it get to you too much. Try to appreciate the things we have. And I don't know. If you live up anywhere near the kind of temperatures I'm dealing with right now, try to stay warm. Thank you so much, Mumzo? Have an enjoyable weekend, and hopefully I catch up with any of our newcomers down the road.